video it here first.
Tonight with all of the grandkids. I've taught music for many years and I love working with kids, so when I see all the kids together I think, wow, all this raw material that I have to work with. So I've taught them a song and they're going to sing it tonight for you. So these are mostly John Monte's grandkids and then a few extras, Rochelle and Micah and is Christy in here? Christy. Okay. So, okay, y'all ready? I will sing unto the Lord, because He has just bountifully given me. I was a wandering sheep. I did not love the fold. I did not love my shepherd's voice. I would not be controlled. I was a wayward child. I did not love my home. I did not love my father's voice. I loved a foster roam. The Lord is my shepherd. I'll walk with Him always. He leads by still waters. I'll walk with Him always. Always, always. I'll walk with Him always. Always, always. I'll walk with Him always. The Lord is my shepherd. I'll walk with Him always. He leads by still waters. I'll walk with Him always. The Lord is my shepherd. I'll walk with Him always. He leads by still waters. I'll walk with Him always. Always, always. I'll walk with Him always. Always, always. I'll walk with Him always. The Lord is my shepherd. I'll walk with Him always. He leads by still waters. I'll walk with Him always. Always, always. I'll walk with Him always. Always, always. I'll walk with Him always.
We want to welcome all of you here tonight. It's a grand occasion to gather together and celebrate Steve's 40th birthday. And I'm starting off with, my assignment was to tell a little bit about his birth and let you in on just a few things that happened back then. When John and I married, I was 18 and John was 20. And the doctor said I could never conceive without an operation. And of course, Steve was born almost to the day of 9 months after we got married. I could say a lot of other things, but I'm going to move right along. When Steve was born, he was the most beautiful baby. I can remember people coming from everywhere saying, "What a gorgeous child." And he had this curly hair and these long eyelashes. Everyone just thought Steve was something. We just adored our little boy. Couldn't have been any happier. I remember John went out with his boss and went elk hunting and brought back some elk. And he said, "My boy, the first meat he has is going to be elk." So when Steve was 6 months old, he had elk meat, his first meat. And then he walked at 9 months. He always had unusually strong ankles. But then at 9.5 months, he became very desperately sick. And we rushed him to the hospital with a fever of 105. And the doctor thought that it was spinal meningitis. And our preacher came in, and we, for a number of hours, it didn't look like Steve was going to make it. And I can remember being in the room, John and I and the preacher, and he praying with us and telling us that we had to let go if that was God's will. And I can remember battling that so much because we adored our little son so much. But the preacher led us through it, and we came to the place where we finally said, "Lord, if it's your will, we do give him to you." But shortly after that, they found out he did not have spinal meningitis. And we were so elated. Instead, he had something very rare. He had an allergy to the north wind. Because after he came home from the hospital, just a few weeks later, he got the same thing with a high temperature. And Grandma Montai happened to be up visiting. And she said, "Oh, we know how to take care of that. Back in Michigan, you just put onion and garlic. First you put Vicks all over them and onion and garlic all up here and everywhere, and you sit and rock them and until it takes effect," and it worked. And we never had to take him back to the hospital for that high temperature. It was an allergy to the north wind that just stirred up his bronchioles. But I want to say this. When he was in the hospital, that first time, and we, through the direction and help of our preacher, had to give him to God. It was a great help then with all the other children that God gave us, because we gave the first one up to God, and we ended up feeling that same call with all the others. They were God's, and if we were to keep them, it was going to be his gift. So we're thankful that they're all alive, all came to adulthood, and we're proud of all of them, and we're especially proud of our son Steve today, and we're thankful that you all came to his 40th birthday party.
40 is a momentous occasion for anyone, but I think especially so for Steve. First of all, because he survived having 7 sisters, and secondly, because of the other things he survived, which were slightly less major, like the aneurysm and blood clots. Anyway, Steve, everybody is gathered here today because they love you, and we have just this little program. Rachel and Annika are going to do some music, and then that's going to be followed by all of your sisters getting up and presenting a little token to you that represents their relationship with you. We faced life together in grade school. We took off on our bicycles to sell whatever the school was selling that year for a fundraiser. And whether some years it was chocolate, some years it was ironing boards, but we did that together. We babysat together. I remember Mom and Dad would go off somewhere and we'd have to make the evening meal and make everybody eat it because that was always essential that they eat their beans before we finished. Or fish or whatever it was. We pulled the weeds and we picked strawberries and we even cared for all the animals that we had. I remember one time Stephen had these cows at the barn and I went out there and pretended like I was going to hold them up using the milk and I just this really big voice that I was here to steal the milk or something and I think I never really fooled him. We got to high school, both of us went off to Bob Jones where we learned many of life's crucial lessons. Every evening meal we'd eat together at the dining room, and Steve was always dressed in the mandatory suit coat and tie. I think it was the only time in his life when he dressed like that, but it was mandatory. And I think he wore the same tie and suit coat every night for the whole year. We learned there how to have polite conversation and correct table manners. And every night they would have the guy come out to the microphone and give us one more tip on the way we should behave at the table. We traveled back and forth to school. We'd fly, and so we learned about, going through the airports and all that as two scared little kids together. When he got his driver's license, it was a new era in our lives as we never had so much freedom. He bought a car or a truck. And Stephen and I, and often all the girls would go with Stephen rather than Mom and Dad. Their rare would go with just Mom and Dad, and everybody crammed in Steve's truck. That was kind of fun. I rode with Stephen on his entrepreneurial adventure with a load of watermelons he tried to peddle at every grocery store fruit stand between Georgia and Petoskey. Then Stephen and I attended Swainsboro Tech together for a year. We finished the accounting course with honors and received our degree, but never bothered to attend the graduation ceremony. Steve never wanted to be on stage, and of course I followed suit. After this, it was college in Wisconsin for me, and Stephen moved on to California. But I always consider my older brother a good friend. I love you, Steve. You have a beautiful family. And I will give you a Christmas ornament that you can put up every year on your tree to remember your
many of you don't know this side of Steve, I'm sure. But Steve has been quite a matchmaker over the years, and that's how Annie and I got together. I remember one of the first times I met Steve was when he was down there at Bob Jones. He was trying to match Lene off with my cousin, I think, the first thing. And it was probably a dozen years later that he brought Annie out. He called me up one July and said, "Well, how would you like me to come and visit you?" I said, "Well, Steve, you're welcome to come anytime." And, well, I'll probably be there around Christmas time. Christmas came and went, and about the 8th or 9th of January, Steve showed up, and I wasn't home. And he helped himself into the house, and I think they made themselves supper, and I came home, and Annie and Linnea and Steve were there, and that's how Annie and I got started. And that was all Steve's fault back in the late 80s. And since then we've had a lot of talks on the phone and various functions we've come and gone to. And Steve has always been a brother-in-law too. So, Steve, we've got a small gift here. I think the first thing you told me was you were working on your second million because it's always easier to work on your second million than your first million. So we're helping you here tonight out with a framed $100 bill to put on your wall to show you at least made it that far.
And we've had a lot of conversations over the years about money. Don't want to have the money theme here, but I guess we are. I remember way back in high school, some of my biggest conversations with my brother were him telling me what to do with my money. That I shouldn't go to Europe on a trip. I should invest my money. I should do this and that with my money. I should loan my money to him. And then he always used to tease me about getting my 5s and 10s mixed up, which really was true, which still is true. I'm glad I married somebody who has his straight. And even the other day on the phone, my brother was teasing me about my 5s and 10s again, getting them all mixed up. So we've done a lot of talking about money over the years together. And later on, now, you've never been one to be shy about asking questions about money, about how much we paid for our house or our car, how much our electric bill is, or how much our water bill is, or how much our taxes are. You know, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. I just think it's great that you're interested in our lives. I mean, you ask us all sorts of questions, whether we're pregnant again, having a baby.
The answer is usually yes.
Well, sometimes it isn't quite yes yet, but you never know. And you've been getting money from trees for quite a long time now, from your logging business, firewood business. And I want to tell you on your birthday that usually money doesn't grow on trees, but sometimes for your birthday it does. So, happy birthday, Steve. He's so curious he can't even wait when I give it to him. I guess the first thing I think of when I think of Steve is always his eyes flashing with some grand, big idea he just thought up, which usually meant a lot of work for the rest of us. I remember one time I was 12. It was the summer Dad grew 100 acres of watermelons. Steve came in the house one afternoon and said, "Hey Al, you want to go to Michigan with me?" And I said, "Well, when are you going?" He said, "Right now." I said, "Get a dress, we're leaving." And I said, "Well, Mom's gone." He said, "Oh, she won't care." So when Mom got home from the grocery store and probably didn't notice till about dinner time that I was gone, they said, "Oh, she went to Michigan with Steve." Steve was 17. We drove up with this huge load of watermelons. And about anyway, we got up here, and the first day we were supposed to go to this farmer's market. We showed up there, and Steve said, "Well, I'm going to look around at a few things here, and I'll be right back. Whatever you do, don't leave the truck." He was gone till 5. Left me all by myself the whole day to sell those melons. But he came back in a really good humor because he'd seen a lot of interesting things. Anyway, on the way home from that trip, we were driving along, and Steve, remember I was 11, he said, "All right, I'm too tired, you'll have to drive." I said, "Well, Steve, I just can't. I know I can't drive with a trailer."
Oh no!
Well, all right. So he pulled over in this rest stop, and he said, "Get out." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to take a nap on the seat." This was his pickup, and I said, "Well, where am I supposed to go?" And he said, "Well, I don't care. Just get out." So I just crawled out and lay down right there on the pavement, and right before he went to sleep, he said, "You're in the road." So I got up and moved to the sidewalk on the other side of the pickup. And there I was safe. Anyway, I always appreciate the fact Stephen taught me how to travel without fear. It came in very handy later in my life. Anyway, one of the things I always appreciate about Steve is his ability to kind of accept whatever comes along and find the sugar and the spice in it. And that's why I have a bag of crystallized ginger. It just makes me think of you, the sugar and the spice.
Just say I'm happy to be here because when I was born, I was the 5th daughter. 5th? Yeah. And Steve had wanted a brother so bad, and he said, "If this one's not a boy, I'm going to throw her in the trash can." So I was a girl, and I guess he grew used to me, and I'm still here. But my big memory of Steve, we all got to travel with Steve at some point, and I was about 13 years old, and it was my turn to go on this big trip, representing freedom, you know? Get to get out and get away, and just you and your big brother. And so we came to Michigan, and then we went up to Canada, and we were just driving all around, and he picked up a load of calves, Holstein calves. And, of course, they have to be fed on the road. So we stopped at a Hardee's, I think. And, oh, they were 1 day old. So we stopped at a Hardee's, and he had these 2 bottles, big tall bottles, and he said, "Go fill it up with water." And I said, "Where?" So in the bathroom. So I go in the ladies' bathroom with these 2 big old bottles and fill them up with water, and then I put the calf feed in there, you know, the powdered milk, and he was inside the truck, and he fed 2 calves at a time. Well, I don't know if you've ever fed calves, but they all like to suck. So they were sucking him all over his body while these 2 were sucking, and then I'd go trotting into Hardee's and fill them up again, bring him back out, and I was 13 years old, and I was so mortified. I just was a country girl with these bottles of milk. Steve was out there feeding the calves. By the time he got out, he was sopping wet, and he smelled like a cow. I was like, "I'm not riding with you in that truck smelling like that." So he went in and changed clothes, I guess. But every time I see Holstein cows, I'm just reminded. And so I wanted to give this to you and say happy attention left to go around. So Steve kind of helped Dad out. He did an awful lot of the tickling and the throwing in the air and all that kind of thing. And I always had very fond memories of my big brother. But another thing I remember was that when he bought a three-wheeler when you were, I don't know how old you were, it was when you first moved to the farm. And we were so excited about it, sometimes you would let us drive it. And so one day Ellen said, "Hey Sarah, you want to go for a ride?" And so I jumped on the back and we drove that thing around, and pretty soon we drove it right up a tree. And it flipped over backward right onto us, but we weren't hurt. I think we had landed in an anthill, and so it was soft. But anyway, so my memory of Stephen is always of him. He would get as close as he could to the front door on that three-wheeler, so we didn't have to walk very far. So I got as close as I could land at Stephen. I got a four-wheeler, and it makes noise.
You always taught me about being an entrepreneur. You sold me a calf when I was about 10 years old, probably the same calf you brought home on that trip. And Sarah and I would go out and feed them. She got one too. Daisy and Dandy. We'd go there and feed them every day and take care of them. And I was pretty young when you left, so I mostly remember you through the lives of all my sisters as they would tell all sorts of stories about you and all their journeys. So I never got to take a big long road trip with you, but I have. It's been a good time, and I'm proud for you.
Just tell two of my favorite stories about our cousin Steve, Uncle. What are we?
He's your nephew.
Well, one of my favorite times with Steve, when Steve was younger, as the girls have said, they would always come north. When Steve could start driving, and he would bring the older sisters, early on I remember, Linnea and Becky, Annie. And I remember we went to church one Sunday. Well, first, if you girls remember, where's Linnea? Linnea. Do you remember back in the day, they used to go bar hopping. Well, they didn't. But they wanted to know if they did what it would be like. So as an older cousin, I remember we would go coffee hopping. And late at night, we would go to every coffee shop in town. You remember that? We'd go coffee hopping. Well, that was on Saturday night, so Sunday morning we went to church. And I remember we went to church and it was a rainy, fall, cool, very cool day. And I believe Steve had a Bronco or a Blazer, a red Blazer. So he parked out in the parking lot and we all went into the church and it just started pouring. And we were about a third of the way through the service. And one of the ushers came up front. And he whispered something in the pastor's ear, and the pastor said, "Okay, we have a bit of a problem. There's a red Blazer in the parking lot, and they left their lights on. Would whoever's car that is want to go out and shut it off?" There wasn't a sound in the audience. He asked twice. Finally, the pastor says to the head usher, "Would you go out and see, maybe the keys are in it and you can shut the lights off?" So the usher starts walking back, and when he gets 2/3 of the way back, he walks by Steve, who's right on the edge of the aisle. And Steve hands the keys. You remember? That was classic. Well, I remember a little later on, Nance and I had got married, and we went out and we were working on, at Sky Valley East, one of the phases, and we were living in this little travel trailer, tow behind your car travel trailer. And I remember Steve came down and lived with your dad one winter, and we were all out back, looking at a bunch of the old equipment back there, and Steve would say, "Oh, Ben, what's it like being married?" He said, wonder if I'll ever get married. And I said, well, Steve, if you want the key to getting married, it's simple. He said, really, what would that be? I said, Steve, when we leave to go home, you buy this little trailer. I said, Mark started living in this trailer, and he ended up married. And right when, as your honeymoon, you lived in the trailer. Nance and I got married and moved in that trailer. I said, Steve, you buy this little trailer, pull it home up north, guaranteed within 6 months you'll be married. Steve's eyes lit up. He reached straight in and he bought that trailer, pulled it home. Within 6 months you were married. 13 months. So Steve, as one of the older cousins, or one of the younger cousins, and on behalf of the older cousins, we didn't prepare a present, but we would like to say you are hands down the most colorful cousin we have.
Steve's story begins here 41 years ago, and he's only 40, so you wonder how could it begin that many years ago? Because this is where his father courted his mother out there on Lake Walloon. And then he came home from to California early, and they were married. Let's see, how many? They were married in November, weren't they? Yes, and so then Steve was born 9. I want you to know he was born 9 months later. And Steve has always been a special child. When he was little, he could think of all kinds of things to do. But I remember in particular a birthday, his 2nd birthday. And I had told him, oh, your birthday's coming up. You're going to get presents. And his eyes got so big. And I said, and I'll bake you a cake, and your name's going to be on that cake, and it's going to be your cake. Oh, he was so thrilled. So when I baked his cake, and I put his name on it, and I put some little cars on it, then he wanted to sit up on the table where it was so he could look at it. He sat up there, and I kept saying, well, Steve, don't you think you ought to get down? No, no, and he stayed up there for 1 whole hour just looking at that cake. He was so excited about his birthday. And I'm sorry I don't have a piece of cake for you now, but you've got a birthday cake in there, and you'll get that later. But Steve has done a lot of things in his life, and a lot of things that I could tell you, but I don't think I better today.